On a dismal day of sadness, nearly driven to a madness, searching I could find no gladness, gray clouds hung low from above. I walked with my heart on fire, kindled with a deep desire, burning high and ever higher than the soaring of a dove. I looked for something to inspire, haunted by the memory of my dear distant, long-lost love. Would the sun shine out tomorrow, happiness I could not borrow. What would chase away my sorrow? What would keep it far away? In the park was something thrilling, thrilling as a dentist drilling, putting in a golden filling, sculptures of ice on display. Frozen figures were there chilling those who did stop, stare, and stay on that melancholy day. With the burden I was bearing, at one statue I kept staring, of a princess cold but caring, looking like the love I lost. Would my lost love be returning? For my lost love I was yearning. Love's desire still was burning, for a princess cold as frost. Soon a lesson I'd be learning, paying a terrible cost, for a princess cold as frost. Bold adventures then were calling. Hesitant, I kept on stalling, dazzled by the snowflakes falling. Floating flakes were all around. Her clear eyes had all the seeming of a dream girl who is dreaming. Her clear icy eyes were gleaming with the lost love I had found. Melting flakes of snow were streaming down my face without a sound, upon the softly shrouded ground. Winter winds were wildly blowing. On that day it kept on snowing. Crystal flakes of snow were glowing like fireflies caught in a jar. To and fro each flake was dancing. All around snowflakes were prancing. Cold and clear flakes were entrancing, each a small six-sided star. Wintry scenes they were enhancing, each had traversed from afar like a fading falling star. From the park I would be leaving with a heart that still was grieving. My poor heart she still was thieving, causing me to sadly sigh. My poor heart she still was stealing, much about her is appealing. I had left an empty feeling, but had no tears left to cry. Deep inside I needed healing, deep inside where pain did lie, I felt I surely would die. With the sorrow I did carry, and the sad thoughts I did bury, I did enter a library, feeling not quite like myself. Something missing I was needing, an inner voice was then pleading. As I walked past people reading, a book fell off of a shelf on my head, causing no bleeding. A book to find one's true self. I placed it back on the shelf. Soon a program would be starting to help forget my love's parting. Oh, my hurt head was still smarting from a psychology book. In a room people were meeting. The librarian stood greeting. It was time to begin seating, and an empty seat I took. Outside it had started sleeting. Out the window I did look. It was cold and people shook. On that day so bleak and dreary, I was feeling faint and weary. The librarian spoke clearly. I listened closely, she did say.
Professor Zolta is sharing something magical and daring. Eagerly you will be staring at his collection today. Curious gifts he comes bearing. Close attention you must pay to his wonders on display.
The professor's presentation, begun without hesitation, seemed to cause a strange sensation. While he spoke, no one there stirred. They did sit still, all enraptured. Strict attention he had captured. Strict attention he had captured. Held like his stuffed dodo bird. They did sit still, all enraptured. Leaning forward, they all heard the professor speak each word. The program was then unfolding. Unique objects he was holding from a case he was unloading. He showed a brain in a clear jar. He produced with his collection a microcosmic world's reflection, easing my pain of rejection, where oddities from near and far were contained in his collection. Things wonderful and bizarre, as dazzling as any star. Obtained from across the ocean, automatons were in motion, without expressing emotion. Without complaint they did comply. They obeyed without thinking. Without brains, no thoughts were linking. They obeyed without thinking, or ever wondering why. Their painted eyes were not blinking. Their painted eyes could not cry. Without life, they could not die. The audience was there staying, captured by what he was saying. Oddities he kept displaying from his cabinet at home. Ships in bottles he was showing. Ships were sailing without rowing. A sea of clear glass was flowing, without froth and without foam. A bottled up wind was blowing, but this ship preferred to roam underneath a starry dome.
There has been some speculation that skulls contain information to assist in transformation.
He held up a crystal skull, assisting all humanity from a time of hostility to an age of tranquility. Tranquility is not dull. Let us practice civility. The dread noose of war does pull, then the grim graveyards are full. After his strange presentation, there was a standing ovation, lasting for a long duration. All applauded and did stand. His program was captivating. It deserved the highest rating. In a line, people were waiting to shake the professor's hand. His manner was ingratiating. Zolta spoke sincerely and he smiled as he shook each hand. Zolta held their strict attention. They focused in his direction. I took a closer inspection at the wonders on display. I found myself realizing something extremely surprising. There was no chance of disguising my surprise in any way. My dear lost love was despising my strong affections all away. There was nothing I could say. I, despised for my devotion, enchanted by her love potion, was moved deeply with emotion. The lady I did adore was as beautiful and stunning as she was clever and cunning. My company she was shunning, my presence she did ignore. She went away almost running, her shoes barely touched the floor, leaving she did slam the door. Nearly driven to distraction by my failed interaction and by my lost love's reaction, my sorrow was plain to see. Saddened, I was softly sighing. In sorrow, I felt like crying. The best part of me was dying. Zolta left and let me be. Left all alone, I was trying to set my sad spirit free. But from grief I could not flee. The crystal skull I was nearing, deep into it I was peering, facing that which I was fearing, things too terrible to know. The skull of crystal was frightening, sparks within were igniting, looking like eerie green lightning. I was filled with dread and woe. Empty sockets were brightening. Empty sockets then did glow, as if they held red-hot coal. Gouged out eyes were there leering. Eyes cried out with salty tearing. Salty tears, burning and searing, too horrible to convey. Like a fire they were blazing. Over my eyes came a glazing, with a cataract like hazing. The skull turned cloudy and gray. Transfixed with hypnotic gazing, my eyes could not look away. I had to watch and to stay.